Gio,
BT and Sal,
Kevin and Tiki.
Keith McPherson, your nighttime host on the Fan.
On the Fan.
On the Fan.
On the Fan.
It's WFAN Daily, hosted by Pete Hoffman.
Welcome to another episode of WFAN Daily. It's your host, Pete Hoffman. And this week we've been doing a little bit something different, obviously. Like the sports teams aren't really playing that great and whatever. So it's also Halloween, so we want a little distraction. And I have two very special guests who rode for 165 days, 8,000 miles, are here to talk to us right now. I believe you're all the way in Australia. Jess Rowe, Miriam Payne, welcome. And you girls look great for going through 165 days straight of rowing. So what's going on?
Thank you so much. Well, we feel like we haven't yet caught up on sleep. We've been on land over a week. We've been pretty busy, but hopefully we'll get some time to relax soon.
So Miriam, tell me this, okay? What goes on in your head to say, I feel like going rowing for 165 days, 8,000 miles? Like, where did this come from?
Well, we met when we rowed across the Atlantic Ocean in the Atlantic rowing race there. And I think we just got really bored once we got to land, and we needed another adventure, and we thought we've got to top it somehow. So we're like, right, let's do the biggest ocean out there. We weren't really sure how long it would take us, so that was a strange element of it. It could take us quicker, it could take us a lot longer than the 165 days. So we just really love being out at sea, living that simple life.
And this is Jess. Is this something that you guys, you've obviously found each other through other experiences, but like, is this something that you've always dreamed of? Just having a free life, being able to go and just explore the world?
Yeah, I mean, if we could just carry on doing adventures and not go back to work, that would be the dream.
Do you have day jobs? Like what do you do? Because you took off for what, 4 or 5 months?
So we basically sort of had to take office jobs and admin jobs, and we were really lucky our companies both supported us and have sort of sponsored us to do the row, and enabled it possible. But we had to really think about what jobs we had that would sort of give us the capacity to be able to do the row. And we work in offices, and just had sort of flexibility, and both had to choose jobs that were really close to where we lived as well, and just so then sort of not too mentally taxing, so that we could plan and organize the whole trip as well.
All right, so let's break this down. You have this idea, you get the opportunity to do this, you get the time to take off. Now, what do you have to take with you to be able to, I mean, do you have all the substance needed? Do you have water packed for months? Do you have all this stuff packed? Or is it something that you're going to need people to drop off packages throughout your trip, throughout your journey?
So the goal was to do it non-stop and unsupported, and we didn't know how long it was going to take, which is why we took 200 days worth of food with us, and that was to eat 5,000 calories a day each. We also had a water maker, so a desalinator, which pulled up water from the ocean and compressed it into drinking water. We had all of our supplies with us, so we had first aid kits, which were pretty extensive. We had spares of everything, spare oars, spare bearings for our wheels. We didn't really take many clothes with us. That was something that we didn't really need a lot of. But all of the safety equipment, so life raft, life jackets, immersion suits, you name it. I mean, I don't really know how we managed to fit everything on the boat, but we did, and it was pretty heavy at the beginning.
So you take all this stuff with you, and yes, it's very heavy to start. I'm sure it got lighter as you guys continued throughout the days. But do you ever think of like, yes, we have a first aid kit, but if something goes wrong, we could be really screwed here?
Yeah, that's a big element of it, is trying to figure out how many things to pack, like Jess said, how many spare wheel bearings to pack. And a lot of our tools just went massively rusty. And one of the problems we had out there was that we found out our water maker had been fitted in sections with pipe that wasn't rated for the pressure. So we obviously didn't have enough spare pipe for that. So we're having to come up with these ridiculous fixes and wrapping it in tape and wrapping it in rope and trying to figure out like how we keep this like one spare pipe going for the rest of the crossing.
So basically, if there's ever like a zombie apocalypse, I need you two with me because it seems like you're very good on your feet. You're able to think of things in case of like dramatic turn of events. Okay, I like that. Now, did you? How did you position sleeping? Was this something where it's like, all right, we're gonna row for X amount of hours, take some time off, row more? Like, how did you work sleep into this?
So we worked on a 2 hours on, 2 hours off shift pattern. So you'd row for 2 hours and then you'd have 2 hours off. And then in the off time, you'd be sleeping, making meals, resting, fixing things. And actually, from the middle to the end of the crossing, we were actually both rowing all day together just because it was too hot to rest in the cabins during the day. The cabin just became like a sauna and you've got no airflow going through there. So we would just do 2 on, 2 off at night time when it was dark. We did get very sleep deprived. It was definitely the toughest part of the row, and I found myself falling asleep on the oars quite a lot.
Oh, jeez. What was the worst? Okay, so you fell asleep on the oars, but like, give me like what was there like a scary moment where you're like, oh shoot, where am I right now?
I mean, we were never actually scared. Um, I think, we were really at home out there. I think one of the things that we found, like, sort of the where am I thing is you would have like really weird sleeps and like weird boat dreams, but we'd often dream about being like doing something on the boat or being on shift and rowing. So you'd wake up thinking it was time for your 2 hour rest, but realize that no, you've actually just dreamed about rowing for the whole 2 hours and you actually do have to get up and row for 2 hours now. So that was quite horrible.
And now, did you have like a safety? Like, was there something where like you had a beacon on you the entire trip too, where like people could always keep track? Because that's the one thing. Like, I'd be scared. Like going into a mall. Like if I took my kids and I don't know where they are, I'd be nervous. You guys are going into the ocean. Like that's just not normal to be by yourselves that far away with no one checking in on you.
Yeah, so we had lots of ways that people could track us. We had like a yellow brick tracker, and it would send our location every 4 hours. And as we got closer to land, I think we changed it for the last couple of days. It was every 15 minutes. So everybody was able to track our route. And I think our parents woke up every 4 hours to check where we were. We also had like a little satellite Garmin InReach device. And every time we sent a message to our support team or family, it would also send our location that way.
Jess Rowe, Miriam Payne joining us right now as they rode across the Pacific for 8,000 miles. I can't even imagine doing that. I was on a cruise once and I got a little seasick here and there. You girls were out there for 165 days. I'm glad you're back safe. But you said, Miriam, you weren't scared. You never were scared at all. But give me some moments of you're out in the ocean, it's dark out, you're running into certain things. Like there must have been some scenarios where like this may get a little tricky right here.
I mean, we had a lot of things that went wrong and we got very frustrated. So, like on our first attempt, our rudder broke and we found out that was due to manufacturing error, and it looked like the same thing was happening with our spare rudder. We then tried to change our dagger board into rudder and that didn't work. So we had to get rescued, come back to land and restart the crossing. And then on the first week of the restart, we found out that we had the issue with the water maker and the pipes. And then we also started having major power issues. So we thought we were going to have to hand pump our water and basically go dead ship and hand steer for the whole crossing. So we were definitely like, this is going to be a hard crossing. So there are definitely a lot of moments of frustration and, oh my God, like, this is going to be tough. We're just going to have to keep going.
And you never thought like, what you thought that you would always be able to do this distance? Was this like what was the furthest you were in the ocean before this?
So we had both previously rowed across the Atlantic Ocean, which is a 3,000-mile trip from La Gomera in the Canary Islands to Antigua in the Caribbean. And the Pacific is nearly 3 times longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a much longer distance. Like, I mean, I could walk up a hill, but then you want me to walk a mountain. I don't know if I could do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're basically doubling what you did last time.
Yeah, I think we always knew we were capable of it, but there's always that element of things can happen that are out of your control. I think especially when we had all the issues with the boat in sort of the first week of the second attempt and with the rudders on the first attempt, we were like, okay, there's so much that can happen that is out of control that might force us to stop when we don't want to, when we'd want to carry on. So there was always that element of the unknown, but I think as long as we could sort of keep working through the problems, we knew we were capable. It was just sort of a question of how much we were going to suffer.
I mean, listen, I don't know how much you suffered, but you guys got through it, and that's all that matters. Now, Jess, Miriam, you're in the Pacific. It's probably gorgeous. Give me like some of the real surreal moments that you had out there, the peaceful moments where just like you were connecting with the world, with the water.
Yeah, I think one of the coolest moments was when we had a sperm whale right next to the boat. It was about 5 meters away, about 20 meters long, and we just couldn't believe it. It was like out of this world experience. We also had lots of nights where we had these birds that would just land on the boat and sleep there for the whole night. These booby birds, which were quite big. We saw so much wildlife out there. We also caught a yellowfin tuna, which was so good. We had a massive feast, and it took us about 4 months until we caught that fish. We were dragging a line the whole way across. I don't know how we only caught one fish. Um, we saw so much out there. We saw sea lions, dolphins. We had a turtle bumping into the boat for a couple of hours when we were on parachute anchor. We were so fortunate, and also just like the sunrises and the sunsets and the night sky, the stars were incredible, and just rowing under the Milky Way. And we didn't have enough power to have even our navigation light on at night, so we were just we had no sort of light pollution with us, and it was just incredible.
That's unbelievable. Now, were there any, again, Jess Rowe, Miriam Payne traveled 165 days, 8,000 miles, rowing across the Pacific. And I'm sure there's footage that we could see of this. If you're listening, if you're watching this live, can you direct the listeners and the fans to go where we can see some of this footage?
Yeah, so if people go to our website, which is www.seasadayOceanRowing.com, SEAS, it's got the links to all our social media channels. And they'll be able to check it all out on there.
Very cool. Now, you had, and I told you, I warned you this, okay? I told you how I'm a huge horror fan. So you had those surreal, beautiful moments, but there's got to be a horror story or like a close call. Like I'm a fan of Jaws. I've watched a lot of good horror movies in my day that base out of the ocean. Any shark sightings at all? Any great white sightings that you saw?
We saw lots of probably saw about 3 or 4 shark fins, a bit like probably 100 meters away from the boat as we were leaving Peru, but sadly none of them came close. We were really hoping that we would get some sharks near us, but yeah, sadly not.
How about ghost ships? Did you run into anything like that? Any like random ships that you kind of came across?
We really saw very few ships, and because we didn't have enough power for all our systems and didn't have our AIS alarm on, we often didn't know what was passing us. And because we're so low down compared to we're sort of like a meter or two off the water, you can't see a lot. And so we probably passed some ships that didn't have their equipment turned on either. We just don't know what was passing us a lot of the time.
When you're out there, and again, it's surreal, it's beautiful. There's just complete darkness and whatnot. Give me some of the best moments between the two of you, whether it's laughing, whether it's just getting close and just having amazing stories and just sharing moments. Give me some of those feels, because no matter what, this is a journey that no one else can appreciate, right? You share this with each other. I mean, you're talking about an experience that it's one in a million people will do this. So give me like some really good close moments where you're like, wow, I can't believe we went through this and we just had so much fun on this specific day.
I mean, we were on a massive high throughout. I mean, we had so many good days, and we were so lucky that we just got on so well together and didn't have any arguments. And I think a lot of days that I remember, we're just sort of surfing down waves, singing along to Mamma Mia, totally tone deaf. But yeah, I think, and also like as we got closer to the end, I think one of the last nights we'd saved a tiny little bottle of whiskey, and we had a little Paddington bear, which my dad gave us to take along for the ride, and we took his Wellington boots off and had little shots of whiskey to sort of celebrate our time on the Pacific.
But
That's awesome.
yeah, I think there were just some days where we were crying with laughter over stupid things, and I think one of like the good days was with all our water maker issues. Somebody back on land had figured out a bypass method that meant that we could have a reliable water maker for the rest of the crossing. So that was a pretty good day. And no, I think for me, especially like the night skies were just absolutely incredible. And when we did have clear skies, you were just rowing under the Milky Way, and we rode through quite a lot of meteor showers as well, the Perseus meteor shower and a couple of other ones, and they're just they're so cool out there because you just see shooting stars that light up the night, and I really love that.
Shooting stars. I wish I could see that. That's incredible. I can only imagine. Now, listen, it's 165 days. I'm sure it rained a couple times. I'm sure there was some bad weather. I'm pretty sure that had to have happened. Was there any moments of like crazy waves and just like you're in a storm? And I'm just thinking of like Castaway or the Titanic or something really ridiculous going on. Were you ever in those situations?
So bad weather for us was when it was flat calm and it felt like we were rowing through treacle. We loved it when there was wind and big waves. I think we didn't have waves bigger than about 5 meters, and it does help you go faster as long as it's going in the right direction. We had a lot of squalls, and it was quite funny because you could see the sort of the rain coming. It would sort of come in a line, and you'd sort of think, right, is this going to be a score that's going to last 10 minutes, and should we just stay in our sort of sports bras and have a freshwater rinse, or is it going to last half an hour, and are we going to get freezing cold, and do we need to put all of our foul weather gear on?
But yeah, and we'd have a lot of sideways waves, so like beam on, so just coming across us. So there would be some nights where you're just getting wave after wave after wave just hitting you, and you're getting salt sores, and those nights, especially when you couldn't see them coming at you, were quite tough because it just felt relentless, and you're kind of just getting rocked side to side. So it's really hard to put your oars in the water at the same time and row properly, and it's just quite annoying conditions.
I mean, this is a stupid question because I'm sure you got a little fatigued here, there. I'm sure you got a little tired, but like, were there moments where you thought that you were not going to get through this?
Maybe the last 4 hours of the trip. We were battling headwinds, and yeah, we literally did not have far until we were in Cairns Marina. But the forecast had changed, and we were just really struggling because we needed to stay inside the channel markers. Otherwise, it was too shallow and we were going to run aground. And because of the wind direction, we were getting blown out of the channel. And we just thought, oh my gosh, we're going to run aground and we're going to have to swim ashore with all the crocodiles and the sharks in the water over here. We just could not believe it. And it wasn't until we'd finally actually got inside the harbour that we thought we were actually going to finish this.
Oh my God. Listen, I mean, I don't know how you girls did that. This is an incredible journey, and it's amazing. And to be away from technology, now I need to know, are you two, obviously you girls are social media heavy, but like, are to be away from like people and technology and all this stuff. Like, did you feel any effect? Did you feel like even better that you were free from a lot of things that society makes us kind of be part of on a daily basis now?
Yeah, we absolutely loved it. Because like for us, the social media is part of, it's almost a bit like a job, it's we love sharing a story, but at the same time, it allows us to be able to do the challenge. We have deliverables for our sponsors and stuff like that. So it is part, like it does have to be factored in. So we loved it when we kind of had to we could hand it off to somebody else and just sort of live in the moment, like you say, be away from the chaos of the world. I mean, we have no idea what's happened in the last 6 months. We've not looked at the news at all while we've been on the crossing. So yeah, it's a bit weird coming back to land and sort of having to do all those bits and pieces again. But oh yeah, absolutely loved being switched off.
That's amazing. Now, is there you don't feel like you missed anything at all? Like for 6 months, you're off the grid. Do you feel like what's the first thing you want to do when you get back to land? When you get back to your home, what's the first thing you want to do?
Oof. I don't know. I feel like there's still so much admin to sort out. I'm struggling to focus on one thing at a time. But I think for me, I'm just keen to catch up on sleep.
Yeah, and I guess the only thing we did miss was seeing like what our friends were up to, because we did have some friends doing some quite cool things and adventures too. So occasionally we'd maybe like have a login and have a quick look. So I think catch up on sleep, but also just see our friends that we'd kind of neglected for the past 2 years, while we've sort of been planning and organising it. And it's been so hectic. So very excited to catch up with those people.
And is this something now where it's like, okay, cool, we're gonna relax for a little bit, we're gonna catch up with all our friends, our family, and what's the next thing we're gonna do? That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, what having sort of we had so much time to think and talk about all the things that we wanted to do, and it felt like our bucket list just grew and grew and grew. So I
Oh
think
no.
maybe maybe we'll try and do some smaller challenges that don't take up our whole life and prevent us from sleeping, that we can do on weekends. But yeah, not too sure yet.
Now, this is gonna be stupid questions. All right. So a couple of things. So what was the worst injury you had?
We didn't really get injured. I mean, you injured your hand a little bit and sort of had a day or day and a half off rowing because it swelled up too much. But it's amazing how well the body adapts to a challenge like this. I mean, it's the mind that goes before the body for sure.
When did the mind go?
Um, well, I think maybe we shouldn't be the judge of that. Some would argue it wasn't there in the first place, but
How let me ask you a question, because this is something. So I always watch, I don't know if you girls are into like The Walking Dead or some of these shows of like, doom and gloom and stuff like that. But the one thing that always I have to ask this question, and you can get pissed off at me, that's totally fine. Sit there and watch these TV shows, and I go, they don't shower, they don't bathe, they don't do anything at all. They just this. I'm watching 12 seasons of these people in the same clothes. How do they figure that out? You're 165 days in the water. Do you go take a bath in the sea? Like, what do you girls do?
So we only were able to make between 10 and 20 litres of fresh water a day with our electric water maker. And when we had issues with that and had to hand pump our water manually, which only makes 3 litres of water an hour, we'd have to sort of sit there and pump for about 4 hours, and we'd use even less water. But we would try and have a freshwater rinse with a flannel at the end of every 2-hour shift. Otherwise, you'd end up getting loads of salt sores. We also had heaps and heaps of wet wipes. So we'd sort of allow ourselves maybe five wet wipes per day. It was quite tricky, and also we didn't have a lot of water to wash our clothes. We didn't have many clothes with us, but they'd get really salty from the waves, and then if you wore them, you'd get more salt sores. So we wore pretty minimal clothing.
But yeah, shower's basically just a bucket. So, and it also depended on the conditions, because sometimes there was just no point having a proper wash because you're just going to get covered in salt again or have a wave over you. So, I mean, we would try and have like a proper bucket wash every sort of 4 or 5 days and then just sort of like a flannel rinse in between and wet wipes. But I mean, sometimes it had to sort of be like 10 days just with the conditions and what was happening. And we try and change our clothes in that time if we had enough clean clothes.
What's considered clean clothes? I mean, you brought a certain amount of clothes with you, but like, I mean, isn't it all getting salty anyway? Like, are you sitting there and drying out clothes and stuff like that? What are you girls doing?
Yeah, so it was quite funny because every time we'd hand wash our clothes in, so we'd wash them first in seawater, with the sort of dissolvable sort of washing detergent, and then we'd wash them in fresh, and then we'd hang them up on the sort of safety lines, and a wave would just go over them, or like it would get a squall and they'd get all wet again, and it was just like this repetitive thing of like washing our clothes, hanging them up, and then doing the same thing again, and never having anything clean to wear.
I can't stand doing laundry. That would piss me off. If by doing the laundry it just get wet anyway, it would annoy me. And then you explain to me the salt sores you were telling me you were talking about. So what the salt would just kind of eat into your skin?
Yeah, it just sort of irritates it, and it was quite hard at night because if you didn't have enough water to wash, and then you're having to maybe sometimes put your salopettes on to keep you warm, and then it would just be a bit like sandpaper on your skin. And yeah, just if you've got any bits that are sort of like frictional touching clothes and you're covered in salt, um, especially like our bums, a lot of the time if we had a lot of waves over us, we were just sitting on a wet seat pad, and just that constant contact with salt, it just irritates the skin and you sort of get these just red bumps everywhere. I mean, like we've got quite a lot of scars from them at the moment, which will take a while to heal.
Yeah, I was about to say, I can't imagine you girls getting out of this thing unscathed. Like, I mean, I feel like your butt. Let me put it this way: if I'm in the bath for like 20 minutes, my fingers get wrinkly and stuff like that. You're sitting in your butt's sitting on something where it's getting wet constantly. I mean, you girls must feel. I mean, that's a lot of wear and tear on your body, no?
Yeah, it's funny, and your skin does sort of adapt as well, and our hands sort of became quite calloused from holding on to the wooden oars as well, and yeah, it's definitely not the best environment to be in for your skin.
Oh my God. Now, and what was let me ask you a question. How about this? So the showers we got down, bathroom, that must be a pain in the butt too, right?
Actually, the bucket was the comfiest seat in on the boat because we just weren't sat on a wet seat pad. So yeah, it was just a bucket and chuck it situation. And honestly, it was the least of our worries. We just didn't really care about all that, to be honest.
That's great. So it's no sickness, no ill. Like you girls only caught that one fish, but besides that, food wise, everything, there was never a time where one person was like, I'm just not feeling well. You need to cover me for a few more hours. Like nothing like that.
No, so we actually one of our biggest sponsors was Better You, and they had put together personalized vitamin sprays for our expedition, and they'd basically taken a load of blood tests in the lead up and found out everything that we were deficient in. So every day we'd have like 5 sprays of these vitamins, and I think that's the reason we just didn't get ill.
That is, you're nuts, right? And I love you, but you're nuts. Like this is outrageous right now that I'm thinking about this. You literally went out there, and I'm glad you have sponsors like that did all this research that are able to give you the vitamins. I mean, that's freaking amazing. Did you do a lot of research like that beforehand, like yourself, or did you like thankfully, like, let me put it this way, that sponsor is like saves the day. If without that sponsor, would you have tried to like figure out what nutrients you would have actually needed to fill that spray?
Yeah, it is tricky. I mean, we had a lady called Nancy who helped us and offered us some nutritional advice out of just her own time, which was amazing. But there's only so many options you've got. I mean, it's freeze-dried food or freeze-dried food. So there are just some nutritional gaps that you can't plug. Um, and so we try to like make up for it in some of our snack packs. So we're on about 3,000 calories of freeze-dried food a day, and then the rest was snack packs, so like flapjacks, protein bars, like fruit and nuts, dried fruit and nuts and chocolate and like those kind of more normal things. And we actually really struggled with the food and couldn't eat a lot of it. So, there is an element of you do feel like you're a bit depleted, like we won't have been eating anywhere near enough protein because you just can't really make it up out there. So
Well, you guys,
yeah, that even
Miriam, am I correct? You said you ate 5,000 calories a day?
we tried to, we were supposed to, but actually like we really struggled to eat it. And also when you're rowing all day, trying to digest that amount of food is really hard because you're just constantly rowing and just feel really gross because it doesn't digest that well. So we were probably on near a sort of 3,500 calories a day. And so yeah, you're just trying to shovel food in your mouth because it is just fuel, but the freeze dried rations just taste not great at all.
Now, okay, stupid question. Another stupid question. I like to ask stupid questions. How much did you weigh when you got on the boat compared to when you got home?
We don't actually know because we couldn't find a weighing scales in Peru and we didn't manage to find one here. But surprisingly, didn't actually lose as much weight as we thought we were going to, and we're not really sure why. It's quite odd, really, because after our Atlantic rows, we did lose a hell of a lot.
Wow. And nobody had a scale. Like, I mean, you'd think that'd be like an obvious thing, no?
Yeah,
You,
no, I think we'd have had to go on a bit of a trek to find one.
yeah, you need a scale sponsor for next trip you girls do.
I think so.
Give me, all right. So, is there something else that you've always now? Listen, rowing seems to be your thing. That's great, but is there something else adventurous that you've always wanted to try that's not water based?
I'm not too sure. We came up with like loads of ideas, and I think in some ways we would love to just learn something totally new and like maybe do something polar potentially. It's so hard to say because there's so many things out there. We want to do everything, but you just can't do everything. So I think like something where we learn something totally new and it's a real learning curve would be quite cool.
And who are you selling the rights to for this thing? I'm sure someone's going to want to make a documentary, make it spin. Listen, I'd make it to a horror movie right now. I'd find something really crazy, some really twists and turns from this. If I dive into you a little bit more, you're going to start telling me more stories that I'm going to be able to pull out. Like, oh, that's a scary situation, and what, like, because let me put it this way: to you two, this is normal. This is what you do. You're out there. But I think to the average person, though, I'm thinking this is not like something so minor is probably going to be like not heartbreaking, but going to give me anxiety. You know what I'm saying? Like you're out there with just nothing but water. Anything that sperm whale that came up to you and said hello. I mean, that thing would knock me over and I'd freak the hell out.
Yeah, we weren't really sure how to react, to be honest. I think we both just wanted to get in the water and go and say hello.
But are you gonna like try to sell the rights and make a documentary, like make a huge documentary on this, or what are you girls planning on doing with this stuff?
Yeah, we're not really too sure yet. I think we're going to look at maybe doing a book or something like that, but just kind of see what opportunities come our way and yeah, just go from there.
Very cool. Jess Rowe, Miriam Payne. Again, could you just plug one more time? Because when you were saying it, that we broke up a little bit, but give us where we could find all the footage and all these details.
Yeah, so people can go to our website. It's www.seasadayoceanrowing.com. That's SEAS, and all the links to our social media are on there.
Beautiful. Jess Rowe, Miriam Payne, I just want to thank you so much for the time. Congratulations. I'm glad you made it out alive. If you ever come to the United States, you don't have to row. You can take a plane if you want to, whatever you want to do. But definitely, if you come to New York, you got to stop by, say what's up, and let's catch up. And I want to hear more about this journey because I feel like this is something that we're just scraping the surface right here. Like there's a lot more to 165 days worth of you two out there by yourselves.
We'd love to come and chat to you more. Yeah, thanks so much.
Ladies, I appreciate it. Again, rowing across the Pacific, Jess Rowe, Miriam Payne, thanks again, and have a happy Halloween, by the way, if you celebrate.
Oh yes, of course. It's also my birthday tomorrow, so we will be celebrating.
Happy birthday! Let's go. Let's have a little shot of whiskey from Paddington's boot.
Sounds like a plan. Oh, awesome. Thank you so much.